Have you ever walked into a room and felt the air shift, like everything slowed down for a second, and he couldn't take his eyes off you, not just because you looked good, not just because you said the right thing, but because your presence did something to him. It pulled him in. It made him feel something he didn't even know he needed. That, right there, is what we're talking about. When your presence isn't just noticed, it becomes necessary. When being near you gives him peace, focus, excitement, and something he can't name, but can't live without either. You want to know the truth? Emotional dependence doesn't start with words. It doesn't come from chasing or pleasing. It comes from how he feels when you walk into the room, and even more when you're not in it. And the most powerful thing about this, it's not about trying harder. It's about becoming someone he feels safest, strongest, and most alive around, without even realizing why. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And in relationships, your greatest power is not in controlling him. It's in mastering the energy you bring to him. Emotional dependence is not about games or manipulation. It's about becoming the calm in his chaos, the fire that doesn't burn him, but warms him, the soft silence that stays with him longer than noise ever could. Think of a garden, a place where he always feels peaceful, seen and understood. He may walk away for a while, he may go searching for something new, but nothing compares to the space that once gave him life. That garden becomes a memory that lives in him, and soon the world outside feels cold and empty, and he comes back, not because you asked, but because no other place feels like home. There was a time you may have begged to be enough. A time you tried to do more, be more, just to make him stay. But let's tell the truth now. The woman who has to beg for love is not living in her power. That's not your story anymore. Because once you understand what kind of presence makes a man emotionally need you, not just want you, not just like you, but need you, something inside you changes. You stop chasing, you stop proving, you start becoming the woman who moves with quiet strength, the woman who speaks with her energy before she ever says a word, the woman who knows that the real power is not in holding on, it's in being the one he can't let go of. And that, right there, is the beginning of something greater, because now we start living like queens, not by forcing love, but by becoming the kind of woman a man feels in his soul long after you've left the room. If this message touched something deep inside you, if it reminded you of the power you've always had but maybe forgot for a moment, then show some love, like this video, and subscribe to the channel. We are working hard to bring you content that heals, empowers, and helps you rise into the woman you were always meant to be. Because this journey, you're not walking it alone. We're rising together. Number 1. Be the silence that speaks louder than words. Have you ever noticed how silence can sometimes hit harder than 1,000 words? Not the kind that feels empty, but the kind that stays. The kind that lingers in a room even after you've walked out. The kind that leaves him thinking, missing, wondering. That's the silence we're talking about. Not cold, not cruel, but powerful. The kind of silence that doesn't chase him, doesn't beg him, doesn't need to speak because it's already felt. And when a woman carries that kind of silence, she doesn't just leave a mark, she leaves a need. He may not understand it at first, but he feels it, and he will come back for it again and again. There was a time you probably thought you had to keep explaining yourself, keep proving your worth, keep talking, fixing, trying. But let me tell you something simple and true. A man does not fall in love with your effort. He falls in love with your energy. And the kind of energy that becomes addictive? It's the quiet, steady, unshaken presence that speaks without words. That's what makes him emotionally dependent, not on what you say, but how he feels when you say nothing at all. There's a quote that says, "Her silence wasn't empty. It was filled with answers he wasn't ready to hear." And that's the shift. When your silence becomes a mirror, it reflects everything he's missing, everything he took for granted, everything he once had and now can't stop thinking about. You become the echo in his world, not loud, but impossible to ignore. Think of a candle in a dark room. It doesn't yell, it doesn't move, but it lights up everything without trying. And when that flame is gone, the darkness reminds you of what you've lost. That's you. When you stop explaining yourself. When you stop chasing and let your presence become the light he needs, your absence will teach him more than your words ever could. Now it's time to live like the woman you were always meant to be, not the one who begs to be understood, but the one who lets her silence speak her value. This is your turning point. You're not fading, you're not shrinking, you're becoming. Say this with me and write it in the comments, queens. My silence is louder than his doubts. Let him feel what he lost the moment you stopped speaking and started rising. And if this message stirred something inside you, if it reminded you of your quiet strength and your unmatched power, then like this video and subscribe to the channel. We're here creating life-changing lessons for women like you. Because you were never meant to beg, you were meant to reign. Number 2. Carry the kind of peace his chaos never wants to lose. Have you ever met a man who seems unbothered by everything until you walk into the room and suddenly he softens, his shoulders drop, his breathing slows. He looks at you like he just found the calm he didn't know he was missing. That's not charm, that's not looks, that's emotional gravity. And when a woman becomes the peace in his chaos, she doesn't just become a choice, she becomes a need he can't shake, a presence he doesn't want to live without. He may go through loud days, busy nights, voices pulling him in every direction, but then he remembers you, the calm in his storm, the one whose energy didn't rush him, didn't demand, didn't push, but healed. That's when emotional dependence begins, not when he likes you, but when his soul rests near you. When the noise outside fades and you're the only voice that still feels like truth. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." And queens, if you can become the place where his soul retreats to, you'll never need to chase his heart. He will offer it. Not out of pressure, but because the world feels colder without you in it. Think of the ocean at sunrise, still, glowing, endless. People stop and stare because it pulls them into peace without saying a word. That's the kind of presence you build. Not loud, not needy, but unforgettable. He may not even understand why he needs to hear your voice or see your face. He just knows. When he does, everything inside him settles. In relationships, it's not always about who screams the loudest or loves the hardest. It's about who makes him feel the safest, the most seen, the most understood. And that, beautiful lady, is your power. You don't need to fight for a place in his life. You become the place his life feels better in. This isn't about being quiet. This is about being powerful in your stillness. This is about building a presence that reaches him even in your silence. Because once you carry peace in a world that exhausts him, your energy becomes addictive. And if he ever loses that, he'll feel it in every breath. Write this in the comments and claim it. I am the peace he can't live without. Say it with conviction, because now you're no longer waiting to be chosen. you are choosing to reign. We are working every day to create life-changing lessons just for you, because queens like you were never made to chase. You were made to lead. Number 3, be the mirror that reflects not who he is, but who he could be. Have you ever noticed how a man starts to change when he's around a woman who sees more in him than he sees in himself? Not because she begs, not because she forces him, but because her presence reflects back a version of him that is better, stronger, and more alive. That's not luck. That's not chance. That is power. And once he feels that reflection, once he looks at you and sees the man he wants to be, he becomes emotionally tied to your presence in ways he can't even explain. A man does not become emotionally dependent on just beauty or charm. Those things fade. But what stays? What lingers? The feeling that around you he is more focused, more grounded, more like the man he hopes to become. You are not just a woman in his life. You become a mirror, but not just any mirror, a sacred one, a mirror that doesn't show him his flaws, but shows him his future. And once he sees that version of himself through your energy, your silence, your strength, he never forgets it. Seneca once said, "Show me a man who improves in your presence, and I will show you the one who will never want to leave." Because a man does not run from the place where he feels closest to his own greatness. Your presence becomes his home, his fuel, his mirror, and without it, he feels lost. Think of a lighthouse. It doesn't chase the ship. It doesn't scream for attention. It just stands tall, steady, powerful, and because of that light, the ship finds its way. Your energy should feel like that, guiding him, not grabbing him, reminding him without a single word of who he could become. And that kind of power, it doesn't fade. It gets into his bones. So, lovely woman, if he ever looked at you and didn't see the queen standing in front of him, that's not your loss. That's his blindness. And trust me, once he loses that mirror, once he can no longer feel who he could have been next to you, it will haunt him. That kind of absence speaks louder than any words. No more shrinking, no more chasing. You are not just a woman. You are the reflection that makes a man see who he's meant to become. And once you know that, your presence becomes unforgettable. Write this in the comments, queens, and claim it now. I reflect the man he dreams of becoming. Let him feel what it's like to lose the mirror he never knew he needed until it was gone. We're working hard to bring you life-changing lessons because you were never meant to beg. You were meant to reign. Number 4. Make your absence feel louder than your presence ever had to speak. Have you ever left a room and felt like the air behind you went still, like he noticed something was missing, but he didn't understand what? That's not an accident. That is power. Real power is not about what you say or do. It's about what he feels when you're gone, and when your absence speaks louder than your presence ever had to. That's when he starts to feel something he can't shake, something he can't replace, something he needs. You may have spent nights wondering what more you could do. You may have begged in silence, trying to be seen, trying to matter. But hear this now, the moment you stop showing up for him the way you used to, and instead show up for yourself, that's when everything shifts. The energy he once took for granted becomes the very thing he aches to feel again. There's a quote that says, "Sometimes the loudest thing a woman can say is nothing at all." In relationships, presence is not just about being near him. It's about the way your energy lingers in the silence. It's about how your absence exposes the emptiness he tried to fill with distractions. Let him sit in it. Let him feel the cold when your warmth is no longer there. Because the moment he starts to crave not your words, not your body, but your energy, that's when you become unforgettable. Think of a candle that burned with a soft, steady flame. It didn't scream for attention, it simply warmed the room. But once it goes out, the darkness feels colder than before. That's what your presence becomes when you've built it right. Quiet, powerful, impossible to forget. You don't need to remind him what he lost. Your absence will do all the talking. He won't admit it, not at first. But over time, the silence you left behind will echo louder than any goodbye. And by then, you won't be waiting, because you're no longer the woman who needs to be seen. You're the woman he can't stop seeing, even when you're not there. Queens, this is your moment to rise, not in noise, not in anger, but in power. In presence. Let your absence teach him what your presence never had to prove. Write this in the comments and claim it. My absence speaks louder than words. Let the world know you're done explaining, done chasing, done shrinking. And if this message touched something in your heart, like this video and subscribe. We are working every day to bring you life-changing lessons, because you were never meant to beg, you were meant to reign. Number 5. Let your energy be unforgettable, like a song that plays in his mind on repeat. Have you ever heard a song that stays with you long after it ends? One that plays in your head when you wake up, when you're alone, when you're walking through a crowd, and it stirs something deep in you every time. Now imagine you becoming that song in his life, that presence, that feeling he can't shake, not because you forced it, but because the way you made him feel became unforgettable. That's the power of presence. That's how you make him emotionally dependent, not by demanding attention, but by creating a space in his heart where your energy echoes long after you leave. He won't be able to explain it. He'll be with her, doing everyday things, but something will feel off. He'll laugh, he'll speak, but it won't sound right, because what's missing is you. Your presence was not loud. It was lasting, like a melody that finds its way into quiet places of his soul. And once he connects that feeling to you, no other moment feels the same without you in it. Rumi once said, "Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure." And in relationships, this is truth. You may have been ignored, replaced, or taken for granted. But now, that silence you once sat in, it becomes your power. You don't chase him, you don't beg him to stay. You become the rhythm he can't live without. Think of perfume, the kind that lingers in a room long after you've left, the kind he smells on someone else and suddenly freezes because it reminds him of you. That's how your presence should feel. Not loud, not desperate, undeniable. He doesn't just remember you, he relives you, and no matter how far he runs, he hears your song, feels your energy, smells your soul in the places you once touched. Dear woman, you may have once believed you needed to do more to make him stay, but now you learn this: you are enough. Your presence is the power, your softness is strength, your silence is unforgettable, and now you rise, not to win him back, but to become the woman he will never forget. This is your moment to step into your light. This is when you stop shrinking, stop waiting, and start living like the queen you were always meant to be. The kind of woman whose presence becomes his addiction, not because you tried, but because you are. Write this in the comments, queens, and claim it with your whole heart. I am the feeling he can't forget. Say it. Own it. Let the world know your energy speaks, even when you're silent. We are working hard to bring you real, life-changing lessons, because queens like you were never meant to be forgotten. You were meant to reign. Number 6. Give him emotional oxygen, then disappear for a moment. Have you ever noticed how deeply he breathes when you walk into the room, how his shoulders drop, how his mind slows down, how the chaos inside him suddenly finds calm? That's not a coincidence. That's not small. That's power. You became his emotional oxygen. He may not say it, he may not even realize it yet, but the moment you step back, the air changes, and suddenly he's gasping. That's how it starts. That's how he becomes emotionally dependent on just your presence. Don't chase. Don't beg. Just become the place he breathes easiest. Then walk away for a moment. Let him feel the shift. Let him miss the peace you bring. You see, emotional connection isn't built with constant attention. It's built through the contrast, through the moments he had you and the moments he didn't. The more grounded he feels around you, the more lost he feels when you're gone. Seneca once said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." And you, dear woman, are not just living. You are becoming the very breath that brings him back to life. Not because you're desperate for him, but because you learned how to carry stillness. You learned how to offer light without blinding, warmth without burning, love without losing yourself. And that's unforgettable. Imagine this. You are a flame in a cold room. He steps close and feels warmth he didn't know he needed. He relaxes, lets his guard down, begins to rely on that fire to feel like himself. But then you step away. The room goes cold, and it hits him not with noise, not with drama, but with silence so loud he can't escape it. That silence becomes the sound of your absence, and suddenly he isn't just missing a person, he's missing his emotional air. Dear woman, you've given too much without being seen, but that ends now, because you are not just someone in the background of his life. You are the center of his calm. You are the softness he didn't know he was starved for. And now, you begin living like the queen you forgot you were. You don't need to beg for his love. He will feel your absence more than your words ever could. Write this in the comments and claim it. I am the breath he never wants to lose. Say it, queens. Let it echo. Let it rise. Because your presence is no longer just noticed. It is needed. We are working every day to bring you life-changing lessons that remind you of who you truly are. Queens, your reign starts now. Number 7. Be the calm in his storm, but never let him forget the storm will return if you walk away. Have you ever noticed how calm water reflects the sky perfectly, but the moment the wind rises, the reflection disappears? That's exactly how your presence works in his life. When you're near, things feel clear. When you speak, it steadies him. When you sit in silence, he finds peace in that stillness. But the moment you pull away, the calm breaks. And suddenly, he realizes something he never admitted before. You were the peace his chaos depended on. He may not show it at first. He might act like he's fine without you. But deep inside, there's a storm. Because your presence wasn't just something he enjoyed, it became something he needed. Needed to feel like himself. Needed to stay grounded. And now, without you, nothing feels quite right. Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." And the truth is, your absence will be his adversity, not because you punished him, but because he took your peace for granted. He thought the calm would stay forever. He didn't realize it was you creating it. Think of a fireplace in the dead of winter. He sits near it, warm, protected, even comforted. But if the fire stops burning, the cold creeps in fast. That fire is you. And when you're gone, he will feel the chill he never noticed when he was warm. That's when emotional dependence is born. Not when you're trying to make him need you, but when your presence becomes the warmth he can't live without. There was a time you gave too much, a time you lit the fire and waited for him to notice. And when he didn't, it hurt. But no more, because now you live differently. Now you rise with grace. You carry calm, but you also carry power. And if he forgets that, he'll learn the hard way, because queens do not beg to stay. Queens do not force their worth to be seen. Queens bring peace, and they take it with them when they leave. Write this in the comments and claim it. Beautiful women rising in your strength. I am the calm he lost and the storm he'll never forget. Let him feel the silence. Let him feel your absence. Let him realize what your presence really was. And if this message touched something deep inside you, if it reminded you of the power you've always carried, like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here working hard to bring you life-changing lessons. Because you were never meant to be forgotten. You were meant to reign.